Hi, everyone. Thank you for sticking around for this conversation. I'm Katie Rich. I'm the awards editor here at The Angler. I'm so excited you guys are all here. And I'm going to be talking to a lot of the many people made Zootopia too, of course, but I have many of the key players. I'm excited to introduce Yvette Merino, the film's producer. Woo! As well as the co-director, Byron Howard. Woo! We also have Gary the Snake himself, Ke Huy Quan. And we couldn't do this without Judy Hopps, Ginnifer Goodwin.
Hello, thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So a lot of people and a lot of audiences have seen this movie over the past couple of months. Have you guys gotten over seeing a crowd like this responding to what you were able to do with Zootopia 2? Can you possibly get used to a movie like this and the success and the impact it has on audiences?
Yeah, what do you think? Are you used to it?
Are you okay with this
No.
embarrassment of riches?
It's completely mind-blowing, and one of my favorite things to do is actually to sit and watch it with an audience, because I love to experience it with them. I think there's something beautiful and great about seeing in the theater in a dark room with a community of people that you don't know and having these shared experiences. So but it is, I don't know, my mind is blown every single time I get to talk about it.
What do you think? Well, I mean, honestly, it is just an amazing thing. I think during COVID, we made Encanto during COVID, and so all of us we made that movie literally from our homes. And when the film came out, I think there was Omicron. That variant was there. Remember Omicron?
Oh my
that was
gosh.
the best variant of COVID ever. But we could not get people to get back out there, and we were afraid of it ourselves. And to see people going back to the theaters and taking the trouble to get in those seats and bring their families and spend time together and have this shared social experience. It's something that we missed dearly. Like, I grew up on movies. My dad took me to movies. He took me to see Temple of Doom. I saw you. My dad took me to see, and it was just like, I can't believe that I'm actually working with you. But you know, it is such a key part of how you get socialized in the world, and the fact that these are global movies, the fact that you guys are beloved around the world for the characters that you create, the hearts that you put in there. It's remarkable. I think it's something that honestly, I needed some hope lately. I don't know if anyone else does, but there's something about movies and kind of being together and kind of just hearing joy for a change was really nice.
Yeah, these global characters you're talking about, you guys are yourselves, but you are a bunny and a snake who are important in these ways that you probably can't comprehend when you're voicing these characters. So I guess, Ginnifer, with you, you've been Judy Hopps for so long now. How have you encountered this character out in the world? What is it something helped cement for you how much she means as a character to audiences?
I mean, the whole thing has been one big therapy session for me because, you know, I go into every job looking for ways in which I can stretch myself. And I always think of my characters as being these like external things for me that I form very sort of technically and then step into. And I've always thought of acting as like something I'm doing for someone who's like that woman I'm playing. And this has been a very different experience on both films. I was told after coming in and doing voices and accents and things, in which they were very supportive and humored me and then sat me down and they were like, we cast you to play you. And I was like, oh, right, you don't need a Holly Hunter impression because you can actually just call Holly Hunter and she will say yes.
This is incredible, though.
So, fair enough. But yeah, so this does actually go into like being told I'm enough and just showing up and being me and seeing what happens. So it's been a wild experience to have it be that the part in which I'm playing the most myself, though visually I am a rabbit, ends up being the thing that I feel like I'm actually also then stopped about the most, like in the world on the street, which I also didn't really understand that, like, I don't know, I'd be identified for something I'm doing that's animated, you know what I mean? Since it's not so visibly me. And so yeah, to have the response I've had and the sort of, being stopped for being Judy Hopps has been an interesting, I'm not having to go to as much therapy.
Do you also get kids who are like, that's not Judy Hopps?
Oh yeah, totally. No, there's like always a moment, and I love the moment. At first I was like, I don't know if I want this like wall shattered for these kids. as I would also have parents explaining to their children, like, but this is Judy Hopps. But then what I like is that sometimes it leads into explaining like animation, and that's really magical.
So, Ke, how about you? How have you seen Gary the Snake conquer?
Well, first of all, I never thought I would get the opportunity to play, a snake, which is Indiana Jones' most feared animal.
I had an idea for a joke. Oh, it would have been so great. We just had to get Harrison. We had to talk to Harrison.
I know, yeah.
Oh.
No. I mean, honestly, this is such a gift. I'm really grateful. I was a huge fan of the first one. I remember, you asked the first question, what do you think when people, this movie is so well received? As an actor, you're just really lucky to be offered this incredible opportunity, and you never quite know how a movie's going to turn out. But when it's so well received and enjoyed by millions of people, that is a true gift, and more so for me because, we had a big premiere in China. And it's one of the biggest movies there, but I've noticed there's so many youngsters, teenagers and people who are going through a hard time, and they really identify with this character, but more so that one specific line from the movie, which is the responsibility of the world should not fall on one's shoulder, because Gary doesn't have any shoulders. But it's like they, just seeing the comments from them saying that, I feel a little bit lighter after watching this movie. I feel a little bit, less stressful. That is incredible feeling to have. And I'm just so lucky to be along for this ride, for this second one.
I want to ask you guys a really technical animating question while we're talking about Gary the Snake. How did you figure out how to have snakes hug? There's a great snake group hug in this movie.
That is really
and I
good.
watched this, I thought, how
Was
is
Keith
that?
idea, by the way?
Okay,
That's
well,
I'm gonna let Byron
We had to develop snake hugging technology. It's for real. There was a piece of software we had to write called Scoot, SCUTE, and Scoot is talking about the little scales. You are covered as Gary with about 12,000 scales, and so the thing with CG animation is if you try to cheat and try to just put like a texture on the outside, it looks like a lycra sock. It looks like it'll distort and it won't look right. But real pit vipers have these beautiful scales. The blue vipers, the Thai pit viper that your character is based on, has these beautiful scales called keeled scales, which look like the bottom of a ship, like the little, and they all move in a very specific, beautiful way. So they covered your character in 12,000 scales, and they wrote the software so that as you move, each one falls exactly like a real snake would. And it's amazing because we're surrounded by geniuses, people where they have mathematical formulas, I'm not kidding, named after them in the science world, and we have architects and engineers. And we were just talking about, I was at the Lumiere Awards, and they concentrate on technology in film, and the amount of brain power that goes into making these films is really, really incredible. And the fact that they're all storytellers in their own right it's an amazing thing. And even what, like you guys being the talented actors that you are, everyone is at such a high level. Like, again, you guys are just brilliant with what you do with your emotions and your acting and the chemistry that you and Jason have in bringing Nick and Hopps to life, and the emotion that you brought to Gary. And I don't know, we feel very lucky that we get to work with such amazing people. I never thought I would be able to be here. So anyway, very lucky.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah.
Before I move off of snakes hugging, I'm told that this was your idea to have the snakes hug?
At the end.
The group
Oh,
hug
yes.
at the end?
Yes. I love
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it was such I love the first scene when Gary asked Judy Hopps permission to hug, and I thought that was such a beautiful scene. And then one day I just woke up and I said, wouldn't it be great if at the end of the movie there's a callback to that moment? And I kind of wrote out a scene. I texted Jared and I said, hey, I have an idea for this. I don't know if you like it. And he says, it's great. And then it ended up being in the movie. But that, honestly, Byron and Yvette are really kind to give us credits, but I think really the credit belongs to our over 700 animators who worked so hard on this movie. I just don't think, first of all, actors love taking credit. I do too. But in this case, I would love to give it to our animators because they really did one heck of a job.
And one of the nice things, I love that story with that Ke tells, because it's so true. Like, so many of the ideas that are great in these films don't come from Jared or me, and it's it is really a team sport, and the fact that these guys, I think, just define the characters. Like there's no one else who could have played Gary. There's no one else who could have played Judy. They're both our first choices. We had 71 speaking roles in this movie. That's the most of any Disney film ever.
Yeah.
Almost, I think, almost.
Ow.
It was crazy.
What has you beat? Yeah, what's the
Who beat
record?
us?
Come on.
Rock breaks internet.
Yeah, but they were just like they were like beeps
Kind
and
of.
bloops, right?
Well,
Internet. Oh, but anyway.
Who
No,
else
anyway.
gave
That's
us
Disney
speaking
Pixar.
roles?
I think they have 72. We have
Ah.
71, so we're close.
So anyway, but it is a really remarkable thing to see that so much creativity comes from every direction at this place, and because it is largely under one roof, it's this repertory theater of people who get together and produce films. Then you have brand new generations of people coming in. Some people who were in school back when the first Zootopia came out, and they determined that's where they wanted to be, and that led them to kind of join Disney Animation. And the fact that it's a teaching studio, like I've been here for 35 years, and the fact that I was around when Glenn Keane was teaching and Mark Henn and all these master Andreas Deja, and just these masterful artists who themselves were taught by previous generations, and it keeps going. But this collaboration about doing something really great with storytelling just continues.
Yvette, I want to ask you kind of a zoom out bigger question where you guys have the challenge of expanding the world with Zootopia, and there's so many different directions you can go, and we get the teaser at the end of this film that kind of suggests even more directions it can go. So how do you guys sit down and say, all right, you made this great movie, everybody loved it, let's make it bigger and even more of what they like and not mess
do you
it
like
up?
that?
It's my
fun.
favorite problem to solve. Yeah, and I think it is one of those things that, when Byron and Jared kind of created the world of Zootopia, they always talk about it. Zootopia is a city that exists on a continent that is a world that lives on a world full of animals. So when you picture it that way, the stories that are possible are quite endless. And so there were many things like, they always want to go to Outback Island, and they wanted to do that in the first film, but the story will always tell us what needs to be in the film and what doesn't need to be in the film. And so, but we knew we loved Judy and Nick, and we wanted to continue their story, but we were opening it up to reptiles, and one of the new environments and areas that we go to is Marsh Market, and our designers and our artists did such an amazing job of building that world. To me, that existed in the first film. We just didn't get to go there. Like so, it gets to a point where, there's so many areas that we want to play with and kind of go to. But like I said, the story will always kind of tell us where we need to go and where the areas that we need to be in.
Yeah, it was interesting because in the first film, a lot of it was studying the real world of animals. The biology kind of told us what the story was going to be. One of the first statistics that caught our eye was that in the mammal world, it's 90% prey animals and 10% predators. And we're like, well, if that group was to make rules for a city, who wins that vote? And so that kind of led to some really interesting sort of social commentary, and that took that movie some places that we didn't expect. In the same way that I think when we knew we wanted a snake as a way to kind of step into the world of reptiles, but when Ke said yes to being the voice, Ke is so winning and just became the emotional center of the whole plot. It's like we needed something for Judy especially to really lock into and care about, because she's driven by her heart. She's such a smart character, but that you won't care about the plot at all unless there's something emotional at the core. And so Gary became this wonderful, heartfelt fuel for the movie. And it's like, and then like, I think before we had Ke, it was very different. And then it suddenly started to swirl around Ke's character, and then this idea of differences, and then looking at the differences between Nick and Judy, which became a real strong anchor point for us. Like one of the first scenes that Jared wrote, which I think my favorite scene from the whole film is when Ginny and Jason, as Nick and Hopps, are up on top of the ice wall at the end of this big confession where they just spill their guts about how they feel. And he wrote that so early, maybe like in draft one.
Yeah.
And he was always like, is it too long? Is it too long? He's like, no, just leave it. And it was like, it was word for word almost what he wrote. And the fact that kept reminding us that the movie, with all the eye candy and the craziness and the puns and the colors and stuff, it really needs to be about Nick and Judy and about these differences. And then Gary is such a great echo of that. And it's also a great way for us to kind of hold a mirror up to the world as it is. And honestly, it was a great thing because the audiences who loved the first film wanted that. They wanted that social level. Even if the kids don't quite get it, it's the fact that the movie can operate on those different levels. It was something that we really wanted to deliver on, and something we tried to be very careful about.
And just to add the context of that scene on top of the wall, and for those of you who aren't super familiar with the animation process, we iterate. The script is, we write the script, we have a first draft of the script, and I consider that a living document all the way to the very end where we're saying, okay, the movie's coming out next month, we need to stop changing this. So it continues to change. So the fact that that scene really at the top of the wall became an anchor for us, and really once we locked that in, the story started falling into place.
Yeah, and one of the things that was really remarkable is we had that scene, we loved that scene, then Jason and Ginny got in there and performed it, and then we knew we had something really special because we cut them together, and we loved their performances, and and again, that's exactly what you saw in the film today. And I was able to, usually what we do with storyboards, our first step is we'll have the script and we'll kind of just do drawings based on the written words, but we don't have the performances of the actors. In this case, we had those guys, and in particular, I had those guys because they gave it to me to board. So I was able to listen to your guys' performance as you played off of each other, that great chemistry, and the charm and the humor, and just sort of those unexpected turns and how fast you talk was crazy. But I was able to make the boards very specific. And then when our animators got it, if you're an animator and you get a scene like that, that is like Christmas and your birthday all mixed into one. It's the best feeling to get something that significant and that nuanced. And our animators are really the best in the world. They're world class, especially when they get something like that. That really, this movie revolves around that scene. It's so simple, but it's so beautiful, and that's why there's so much speculation out there if you guys are going to get together.
Would you like to address the rumors about it?
I would just
Judy
like
and
to
Nick?
point out that if a fox and a bunny had a baby, it would be a funny. Sorry, that actually is Jason's. That's Jason's, but he's not here, so I get it.
Oh, so we can talk about Nick and Judy later, believe me. But what about that? Recording that scene, the ice wall, or just any of that? We were talking about Judy Hopps as a character who follows you. So when you do things like that, when you get to be in that moment and take her somewhere, take her on this journey, how does that feel to get to go back and do that?
I mean, it's the greatest indulgence. I mean, I feel like this whole process has been the most creative experience of my life, by far, because I feel like, and I get the feeling, because I've really almost exclusively done animation for Disney, because I'm a spoiled brat. But I get the feeling based on the reactions I get from people who work with other studios that it's different. But when we go into the booth, it truly is like being the kid in me that wanted to be an actress in the first place, gets her play, I get my sandbox again. So I go in and it's, look, if the scene starts going sideways, go with it and we'll follow you. If you get the giggles and it's emotional, find the funny and we'll explore that. If something's supposed to be funny, but it's really plumbing the depths of something for you, we'll plumb with you, we'll go with you, we'll rewrite to follow whatever this journey is. I've never heard of this happening in any other acting context, right? I mean, definitely can't work in live action. But they truly bring us in, and we'll do the same scenes over and over again, and whatever happens, happens. And the animators are there drawing us sometimes, on the day. And they're filming us all the time, and they're using all of this. What was your question?
All of that. It's about everything you just
No, but I
said.
totally got off the subject.
Well, thinking about getting to take Judy on a journey. This is a character that you create, and you get to bring her somewhere different.
So it feels so safe that it's actually also embarrassingly sort of easy, which it should not be admitting. But
they're gonna make it harder for you next
right,
time.
right. But it is because they just say come in and just be honest and be you, and let's see what happens. And if you need to do it 400 times, we have time. You can just do it 400 times. So there's nothing more satisfying creatively than doing something like this.
It's funny. I'm the new kid here. I haven't done a lot of animation, and somebody once asked me, "What's the difference between doing animation, voiceover work versus live action, and I would say, here's the difference. Voiceover is, God, I sound horrible. Live action is, God, I sound awful, and I look horrible. No, but honestly, I mean, it was such a fun process because it's challenging to me. I mean, I think Ginny and Jason, they're so good at this, but it's so different from live action. There's no physical sets, there's no visuals. So I don't know if I'm doing a good job, and I kind of look to Yvette and Byron and Jared. I mean, if they nod or if they laugh in the other room, then that's the validation I needed. But of course, as an actor, when you do voiceover work, we only bring half of the performance. It's really, the animators that bring the other half. They give our characters facial expressions, body movement, like you said, how does a snake hug? Scales. So I kind of feel like, when we talk about, movie making is a collaborative process, animation is more so than anything. And it's, and when it's done right, it's so fun and rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys get them in this booth? I mean, and these guys in what, 71,
We
two other
put
speaking
snacks
parts?
out. We can
That's
There's
true.
such
That's
good
true.
snacks and it's such
We
good
live
coffee.
down the hallway. We got like fruit roll-ups, and they just kind of follow them in. No, it's funny, but I gotta say, like Ginny, you're the queen because she comes in bunny ears without us asking. She'll come in half in costume.
There's a different theme every day.
No, it's pretty.
And by the way, when you enter the animation building, like the parking lot, Yvette, Byron, and Jared, they're always waiting for you, like right in the lobby. It's as if like they're afraid that you're going to turn around and leave or something. But they're so kind and so generous. They're always there. They greet you at the front of the door, and they walk you into the recording booth. And when you're done, they walk you out. And it's like, that's the most Asian thing to do. It's like, but it's just like, it's amazing. And they're just so humble and generous. And I love them so much.
How did you guys learn to took that to keep them from leaving? That you had to escort them into the tour?
I don't know. We had to, it's always a joy whenever we have a record session coming in. And, this film in particular was so exciting because we got to work with Ginny and Ke often, and they came in, but we also had 71 speaking roles, a lot of speaking roles, so a lot of people coming in. But it is really one of those things. It's one of our favorite things is to bring people in and to kind of let them play. And we all, it's so funny to hear you guys say that how much you enjoy it, and because we love it. We are like, oh, it's record day. We're gonna, I love to sit down there and listen to you all do what you do and play and kind of create and take these lines and these words to places that we didn't expect. I mean, we've all read the script. We know what's going to be recorded, but when you all come in and bring, the actors come in and they bring such life to it and such a different idea of it, it is one of my favorite days there.
I'm imagining you guys like banging your head against the wall with animation, being like, can we please just do something different? And the actors come and you're so excited to have them in there.
So nice.
I mean, I do, this series is called Crowd Pleaser. I do think the definition of a crowd pleaser is something that gets people invested. So we can talk about Nick and Judy, but let's talk about in general the ways that people take on these characters and get invested in them and want things that maybe you imagined, maybe you didn't, and have kind of their idea of where they want the story to be. How much can you guys account for that in the filmmaking, and how much do you know that the audience is just going to run with it and figure out what they want?
Yeah, it's kind of it's sort of a delight for us to see when people really do kind of get invested in, like, they wonder about Judy's history or about Gary's family. Like, honestly, we do a preview, like once we have the film together in a good state, we really need to kind of test it with fresh eyes. We do a preview audience. And one of the big questions the preview audience had was about Gary's family, about like, so they loved Gary, but it's like, where's his family? Where's his family? Where's his family? And at that point, we did not have that reunion scene at the end. So it's interesting because we spend, oh gosh, the first Zootopia, I was on it for 6 years. In Kanto, I think we were on it for 3.5, 4 years. This one is probably 3.5, 4 years as well. So, it's very easy to get jaded to what you have up on the screen. So you show a fresh audience. And the bells that ring emotionally and humor-wise we need to pay attention to that because, we have to do a gut check at that point to know if we're missing anything critical. And at certain points we are, and we need to kind of go back and double down on that. And that whole reunion scene, which I tear up now because it's such a nice moment with Judy, and such a great moment with your family coming back, and it just feels gratifying and wonderful, and like it always should have been there, you know. But I think with all these films, and I'm so happy that animation is doing so well across the board at this studio and others, but I think the bread and butter of these movies, what really makes them work, is great character interaction, like the simplicity of just seeing characters grow and play off each other within these amazing worlds. But you know, it's I don't know, it's just such a wonderful thing. That's why I love animation, because we do get to spend so much time scrutinizing it, and it's literally frame by frame. Like, we're the most OCD people.
Frame by frame.
We have a problem. We're very, very precise about what we do, and we're trying to engineer an emotional machine, and we're like questioning everything and looking at, like, where is your eye in one shot, where is it in the next, how many frames are in this shot, which take do we pick, like, where's the eye contact, when do the tears come, when do they hold them back, you know. And we had this is a really I'm not an easy crier. I got a little choked up in Santa Barbara because they do this great thing, it's Mike's Day at the Movies, where they bus in 2,000 kids, and they're crazy, they're all hyped up on sugar, but like they all get together in this huge theater in Santa Barbara, and they watched the film, and we were in the wings just listening to them, and they were cheering and laughing and it's like, just to see a group of people together reacting to something and having that experience was so incredible. And I think I've been kind of so starved for it, but to see that honest reaction, I think that's the movies that I love growing up. You know, I think that's what was just amazing, just kind of be there for that real experience.
Yeah, I think that is one of definitely the magic of animation, that because you're creating these worlds, but especially with Zootopia. Zootopia is this world of animals, and so the characters don't have physical attributes that we all have as humans, that other animated films have, and so you easily can identify with whatever character, because there's no physical look that you're looking at that, oh, that looks like me, or that, you know, I kind of relate to that. But so animation, you know, in Zootopia, it allows you to do that, but the world itself is just such a mirror of the world that we live in. And when we get to a point in a film where we feel like these characters are real and they exist in the world, and the world of Zootopia exists. It's to me, it's a mirror and a parallel world that lives with our world, and they deal with, you know, it's like our world. We have things that are funny, we have friends that we disagree with, and we have really big issues in our world, as they do in Zootopia. And so it's such a magical thing about this world that allows us to kind of really look at our world and what we live in, and some of the big heavy issues that we have to deal with, and that exist in this world, and allow us to kind of talk about it in different ways.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like I believe that Judy and Nick and Gary kind of exist out there. Like I believe that your parents, you know, Bonnie and Don, that are, there's something weird and kind of real. I don't know. I believe it.
Yvette, you said frame by frame is how this movie is made. You guys are, you know, building performances, and you get to see them come to life. Is there a detail about either your characters or just the movie that you that audiences could catch, or that you feel really tells something, that you're so glad that these detail-oriented animators and filmmakers really figured out how to put this world together? Does anything come to mind?
I mean, I think I'm about to not answer that question, by the
Go
way,
for
just
it. You know what?
forewarning.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Thanks. I'll ask you in a second what you asked. I get flashes when I watch the movie of myself. And I went to, and this happened on the first film too, and I went to the lead animator he's the lead Judy animator. And I asked him, I was too scared to talk to him on the first movie, because I feel like they're like in the corner, like casting actual spells, like they're performing actual magic, like they're doing the actual art stuff. And so Jared Bush actually gave me the courage this time. I was like, I want to know what he's doing. Like, he's watching me, he's drawing while I'm working, and I have questions. He was like, you're not disturbing him, go ask your questions. Anyway, through conversation with him, I learned that one of the things that they're doing is studying like you know, how we hold our mouths, how we touch our faces, how we throw our hands around, because they are so specific. Like those things are so very specific to each individual person. And those things also, by the way, affect like the sounds that we're making. And there is this magical thing, you know how like they don't know how a lot of drugs actually work, right? Like they know the effect that they have, but they don't know the actual path that they're taking through our bodies. I feel like somehow that's like the animators do this thing where they are able to create this magic, and we're not quite sure. They know like we need to take these steps and it's gonna like cast this spell. And it's gonna like bring these characters to life. And like for some reason, like it shouldn't be a math equation, but it works. Like something happens where, and I know this is not exactly what you're asking.
No, but this is even better.
Okay, good. Where like they're capturing something with what they do that's creating life. And there's something about that I categorically see when I watch numbers 1 and 2, where I'm like, I know that I just saw a flash of my face. And I know that makes no sense because it is drawn and I am suddenly a rabbit. But they brought something to life that's like tangible that we can't explain. And for some reason, when they're doing that whole hocus pocus magic thing, like they're able to like actually get through and touch us in like these storytelling ways that's like, I don't know. I don't think we can do it with live action. Again, I'm going to say, I don't remember what your question was, because I went off on a tangent.
I want to ask you the same, what she just said.
I got a great example of how incredible our animators are. That beautiful sequence with the 4 main, characters, Judy Hopps, Nick Weil, Nibbles, and Gary at the end of the sequence where Gary visits his ancestors' village for the very first time. That is a very long sequence that has 0 contributions from us voice actors. And because there was no dialogue. But yet that entire sequence, you watch it, you understand what's going on, and you feel the emotions that Gary himself is going through. And it's just a beautiful sequence. And that is, to me, that is like, the incredible work that they put in. Is how can you make me have so much emotions with 0 dialogue? Yeah. It's just that sequence and this beautiful music from our composer, Michael Giacchino, and I think that sequence says it all.
Before we wrap this up, Zootopia birds? We're getting birds, feathers, something with feathers?
Seems like it.
Well, if you think of it as a world that exists where everything is, you know what, that is the big question that we always get. And so we really do, we would play, Byron and Jared created this world, and I was fortunate enough to come in on this film and work in it, and it is an amazingly fun world to be in. So any opportunity I get to be in this world, we're going to take it. So.
What she said.
Yeah. Oh, I think if we could all physically go to Zootopia, we would all do it. And the next best thing is getting more movies. So we'll all hope for it. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you all for being here.
Thank